Oh, that is so...
Eccoci, ciao a tutti, ciao a tutti. Sarò rapidissimo, saluto tutti gli amici sia di Angular Roma sia di The Communities Bay. Qui abbiamo gli amici di Angular Roma a cui fra poco passo la parola e mi rimuovo, e poi abbiamo il nostro ospite internazionale Trung. Quindi sarà un meetup in inglese, faccio velocissimamente questa presentazione in italiano per poi salutare il nostro ospite internazionale e lascia la parola agli amici. The Communities Bay è un network di community a cui sono felicissimo hanno aderito anche gli amici di Angular Roma, ok? Quindi non è una community di community, ma è proprio un network che vuole un po' far crescere l'ecosistema delle community tech in Italia. Vi consiglio di seguire il sito, il punto di riferimento molto semplice. Tra l'altro qui, se andate sul sito The CMM Bay, dove CMM è, diciamo, l'abbreviazione di community, trovate i canali dove seguirci e dove verrete informati di tutti gli eventi, tra cui pure quelli di Angular Roma. Trovate il calendario, trovate tutte le community che hanno aderito. Tra l'altro saluto pure gli amici del Developer Circle Rome che spero seguiranno questo meetup, quindi facciamo un po' di cross community perché stiamo trasmettendo pure lì. Le start-up, perché promuoviamo le start-up. Poi questi sono tutti gli altri membri del team che mi stanno dando una mano. Abbiamo dei partner d'eccezione, Binario F, dove spero di tornare a fare gli eventi, e Talent Guard, anche dove spero di poter iniziarne a fare qualcuno. E poi abbiamo l'azienda del nostro amico Ezio di Code Garden, tra l'altro, che ci supporta. Tutto qui. Io do il benvenuto a Trung. Hi Trung, welcome. E ora lascio la parola agli amici di Angular Roma. Ciao a tutti.
Ciao Enzo, grazie. Innanzitutto vorrei ricordare un po' a tutti quelli che ci seguono quelli che sono i nostri canali, le pagine dove possono raggiungerci, per restare informati un po' su tutti quelli che sono gli eventi che Angular Roma organizza. E vi ricordiamo anche che a breve ci sarà anche la conferenza in Giro, alla quale Angular Roma ed Angular San Francisco partecipano come organizzatori della conferenza. In questi giorni iniziamo la vendita, apriamo, in realtà non ci sarà nessuna vendita perché i biglietti sono completamente gratuiti per l'evento di ottobre. Sarà un intero pomeriggio di talk e molte news su quello che riguarda Angular. E tra poco annunceremo anche quella che sarà l'agenda, quindi stay tuned. A questo punto lascio la parola a Nicola per introdurre il nostro fantastico ospite.
Perfetto, grazie Luciano. Ciao a tutti. Allora, io ho conosciuto Trung attraverso un articolo in Medium dove appunto spiegava quello che oggi ci farà vedere, no? Mi sembrava molto interessante per la community, perché di solito quello che noi vediamo nei talk precedenti abbiamo visto sono sempre diciamo momenti specifici, no? Magari come si utilizza Kita, cos'è NGRX, eccetera. Però Trung ha fatto un progetto che sarebbe Jira, quindi ha utilizzato tutti questi componenti insieme ed è molto interessante come lo ha fatto, quindi le decisioni che ha preso e le tecniche che ha utilizzato. Quindi Trung, if you are ready, we can start.
Yeah, of course. I think I'm ready for that. So, hi everyone. I'm Trung, and just a sec. Can you guys all see my screen? I would say. Okay. So, you guys can all see my screen. So, hi everyone. I'm Trung. Today I'll talk about some of my decision about technical decision behind one of my open source project that I built recently that luckily got the attention from community. At the moment, it is not like 900 style, or it's like 1,000. Yeah, so it's good that everybody is like give me um, like give me the support, and thank everyone for that. So I have already talked about that in Singapore like last month, and I will reuse the same slide. Just a little bit about me. I'm Trung. I'm from Vietnam, and currently I'm living in Singapore, a small island in Asia. I hope that all of you have heard about that before. I'm a 7-year experience in front-end engineer, and most of the time I work in branding and like not e-commerce, but like enterprise interactive application with Angular. At the moment, I work for Xylem, a small startup in Singapore. We build a small platform to targeting enterprise for their logistic part in their business. Also, I'm a community leader in Angular Vietnam Facebook group. Now the group is big. I would say it is about 11,000 member, and we got every new question every day, and the discussion is going on. So it is really happening. And yeah, sometimes I do a blog here and there, do a bit of open source contribution. And that led me to Nicola invitation to speak to you guys today. So what we are going to talk about in this talk is like, the first one is I'll show you the project that I did, if you haven't seen it, about the motivation behind like why I decided to work on that project, some of the high level architecture from Angular point of view. I assume that all of you have some basic like understanding and a bit of experience with Angular, so it will be easier for you to get it. And the fourth part is, I hope it's going to be interesting, is about some of the decisions that I made when I start working on the application, about Tailwind, the small library that build entity CLS, about the state management, why Akita, or like why not NGIX, and the last part is about the CI/CD. Not really like CI/CD, but it's just like how I deploy the application to like show you guys on the internet that you can access if you have like never really done it before. And the last part is that if you have some questions. So what is Angular Jira clone? I have two URL here. You can click into the link and see. So the first one is jira.trung18.com, and there's a source code as well. You can access it from there. So in short, it is the simplified Jira clone. Simplified because it's not like full like feature that I can do in my free time. I think Jira, they have a whole team behind this application, and that is how they make money. So yeah, I don't have the ambitions to build the whole application. So I will show you how Jira look like in like reality. So it is my company board. I hope that is not like very sensitive. It's just about my team subtasks, and there's some basic functionality you can do here. So all of the small one, this one is either a box or a subtask. We will say that. And you can also create some kind of story and its own customize. And when you start working on that, you can start to move it around and your own kind of stuff. So it is more like a like project management tool that a lot of companies are using, and that is what my Jira clone look like. So it also, I have built some kind of just a sample data. It has provide some basic feature, and one of them is, I think people are exciting about it, just that simple drag and drop between like complicated lists. I saw people doing like doing inside a table or stuff like that, but it is not really like moving some kind of custom component between a different element on the screen. Also, you can do all kind of stuff with that, I guess. You can go in, change some kind of status, also change the assignee. It is all happening on the client side. So at the moment, I am building the phase 2 with the proper API, and maybe if we have some time at the end, I will show you the current status. So yeah, I think it is pretty much about the application that I built. And we go back to the slide. Yeah, so I hope after this, just now the small walkthrough, you know what I did, what is Jira clone about. And so we talk a bit about the motivation behind it. I think I started working with Angular 4 years ago in the first project that I built for the current company. And at the time, it's very struggling. I couldn't find a lot of documentation, and the ecosystem is just not mature enough so that we can find a lot of resources online like now, like 2 or 3 years ago. 4 years ago is just the first Angular 2 official version, so there's really just a foundation out there. And even now, I found that all of the example I saw that people building with Angular is somehow is too simple. It is not reflecting what is the scope that you really build when you got it from the customer and when you start the full-time job with it. So that is the first reason I wanted to build some kind of real-world application, but still simple enough so that people can understand it. Also, because in the company, I didn't really have a chance to experiment a lot of cool tooling with Angular, so I decided to use some of the library on that pet project, like Akita, a state management library, or Tailwind CSS, and Zoro. And yeah, after 4 years, I think this project could be something demonstrated my experience working with Angular. So it luckily it came out nicely at the end. And when I start to build it, I wanted to feature it in the guide that we are starting to build in Vietnamese, to try to introduce Angular to more and more, to broadcast to larger group of people in Vietnam, because there's a language barrier for developer in Vietnam. But yeah, sorry, at the moment it's only in Vietnamese, and we are at the day 40, so yeah, it's not very close to the 100 day, but hopefully it's gonna be there soon. The tech stack behind is simple. I created the project using Angular CLI. I decided to use Akita state management. I used Net.js for a simple API code, but later on I remove it. So Net.js, the structure is very similar to Angular. So if you have some experience with Angular, to start working with Net.js is easy for you. Some UI module that I need to use while working with project, because I don't want to do a lot of customized UI component, then it will take a lot of time. So there's a awesome Jira component, and there's obviously there's a CDK drag and drop, and the NGXQ for text editor, and the last one is I deploy it to Netlify and Heroku. So the high level design is pretty simple. So I just follow the Angular style guide, and inside the application, I'll just create a big folder for each module. Let's say the app here is the app module, and for every single module that I need, I will create another new folder. It's just literally the new folder inside the app folder. And based on the folder and based on the requirement, I will either decided it to be a lazy loading module to do the code splitting, or it is going to be a share module that can be shared between different modules. Like this Jira control can be imported in the project module to like utilize some of the custom UI element, or in the login module. I still can import this Jira control module if I need to, but if I don't need it, I don't need to import it. And also in the big application, you need some kind of like core module where it is available across the application itself, like authentication, for example. When you let the user log into the system, you want to store the object somewhere, like the token and the username and user ID somewhere that you can access it to, like access it from different module in the system. So it is like the core. I put it also on top. So we talked about the first. This is another need to make. So basically, I would say for JavaScript developer or front-end engineer in common, we don't really like to work with CSS. I would say so, because there's always we like to work with Angular, with all the cool stuff, with like architecture. But when it comes to CSS, it's always a very, I don't know, maybe it's just for me, but I always feel like CSS is quite like challenging and difficult. For me, you have like a bit like a different opinion. We can talk about it at the end. But I always feel that to write the proper CSS, you need really like also a high skill engineer. Like you have 4 years with Angular, you must maybe have another 4 years with CSS, so you can balance it. So Tailwind is basically entity first CSS. You can see it on the screen. They just write a bunch of entity class for us so that we can use it in the project without really like to define a single class for each time. So yeah, it is like just a high level definition of Tailwind, and we will go through it now. So why I decided to use Tailwind, because always in the project, I always wanted to have some small alignment on the screen. So it could be I wanted to add the padding left like 5 pixels to one element on one component. But then later on, I wanted to also add another padding left 5 pixels in another component. And maybe later on, I also need to do it like in another component. So I found this task is like repetition. And if we can do it better, yeah, somehow we should do it. And yeah, I will show you some of the options that I have when I encounter this kind of issue. So the first one is easiest. You can just put like inline style into the element itself. So it is very quick. You achieve it quickly, but then because you know the style is like one of the strongest CSS rule. So when you wanted to override it, it's going to be difficult. You want to override from another class, it is difficult. And it is going to be messy. If you think about, you have 10 lines of button with padding left 5 pixels, you want like in the future you want to change it to 10 pixels, you wanted to like you wanted, you have to go and you do 5 and replace it, or you do like 10 times the code changing. I don't like it, and yeah, I would say it's not really the way. The second approach that we can look at is like, you can, because we have the button inside every component, and if you just keep the style is like emulated, which means it's just all of the CSS when you wrote it, it just stay inside the component. It will not link to the other component. Let's say I wanted to have this button with padding left 5 pixels. I just create a new class for it, and I just use it. But when we scope it like that, you would think we might not need, like, no, you just couldn't reuse it, or you need to link it to the global CSS by doing encapsulation with view encapsulated is none, which is not a good way to do it. And that comes to the third approach. So, I think this one is a bit wrong. Sorry for that. So I mean, this one, the class here, it should be PL1. It is like you define some kind of entity class on the app, like on the app level. It's like on the core, on the root level. Like PL1-1 is like a padding lab 5 pixel, and then you can use it. Like it is not like that. It should be something like this one. It's not my button anymore. It should be PL1, like what I defined it here. So when you define it on the top level, you can reuse it. Obviously, you can access it from on the other component. But you need to really spend the effort to write this entity class. For example, if you need to do padding lab for like 20 classes, you might need to copy and paste this 20 times, or you do a SCLS mixing. Either way, you still need to spend extra effort to write additional code to make it working. And if you don't really have a centralized places for your team member to refer to this way of using, they might not know about that, and they might introduce like redundant, like CLS in the future. And when you write something like this, like entity class, you might think of Tailwind CLS, and Tailwind is like obviously it's simple, and we see Tailwind basically it just define all kind of entity class for us, and when you import it to the system, you can use all of these classes that already predefined, and they have a very clear documentation. So if your team have 10 engineers, you just give them the link, then they just go there and work through a documentation for maybe half an hour, or maybe a day to get used to with Tailwind, and you're all set. And there's a communities like around that, so obviously there will be update in the future. Yeah, like I said, there's a bit of learning curve, maybe a day or two, but I think it's worth the effort in the long run. So let's talk about this a bit more. I think I will show you the code. So basically, let's open Tailwind. No, not that one. So that is the example of Tailwind. So I just put it aside that you can see it. I think that's the one. So let me open the app component. So you see there's a image tag, and I put some kind of like Tailwind classes, and it is look like that. So if I remove all of them, yeah, it was just okay. No, it's not gonna work. So if I remove it, it is like that. And if I bring it back and I remove few classes, it's gonna look like that. And when you type, I think the Visual Studio Code in my now is just gone. I have some problem with my machine this morning. So basically, when you type it, when you install the right extension, it will do all kind of suggestions like IntelliSense for you, so you don't really have to worry about it. Like I show it, I will show it later on the screenshot. Yeah, sorry, the machine this morning I messed it up, so you don't have it at the moment. And yeah, that's usually the way I write it. And usually I don't have these classes very long. I would say maximum I will decide to keep it like 5 or 6. And if it's longer, you can use another like extremely useful like feature of Tailwind, which is this apply syntax. So you go back to the slide. So let's say I have the button with a long list of class, let's say the 10 class, and you wanted to reuse this for another button, for example. Because if you need to copy it like 5 times, it's going to be a nightmare. You need to change it in the future. So Tailwind, they introduced this apply syntax. So basically, when you do apply, you can just put in the class name, this background transparent, and you just do apply with the name. And it will just, when the build process kick in, it will actually take the style for this class and apply for that. It is more like the SCLS syntax for include. Yeah. And because when you do apply, the editor don't like the process, they don't like the colon here. So for all kind of how do you call it? It's like how is pseudo class. You need to do a proper like a corresponding like proper pseudo selector for that. So you cannot do apply like basically you cannot do this one. You cannot do apply and then do hover, something like that. You cannot do it. You need to select the hover state and then you apply the corresponding class for that. And it is still working. And I tested it. It's look pretty cool, yeah, actually. So from this 10 class name, it just becoming a small class name like button, like btn dash tailwind, so you can reuse the future. Okay. Yeah. So just now I show you. So let me open the screen again. So this is a button with the normal like classes. So if you inspect the source code, can you guys see the? I hope you guys can all see that. I think it's look clearer when it's bigger, a bit bigger, yeah. So the button on the left is like the button with still own one like own kind of classes from Tailwind, and the second one is like I use the apply syntax, so that's it will just look the same, and when you look at the code, all of the style is like already there, it exactly similar to that one, but in that one you have like fragmented classes because each one of them have a different style, and this one you have everything inside one class. Yeah. So I think it is a good way to get started with Tailwind, and that is very powerful. Let me go back to the slide. So that is all for the apply. If you wanted to see how you can configure Tailwind to work with Angular, you should go to this link. I will send you the slide like URL later, so you can all refer to it. One last part I didn't include it in slide. I forgot. It's like you think like when they introducing a lot of class like MT1, MT2, MT3. When you use it in the project, it's gonna be big because they provide it on the fly for you. It means like they predefine it for you. So you might thought that at the end when you load application, it will load everything for the CSS, even you don't use it. And Tailwind, they also have this they understand the concern, and they have this controlling file size documentation. So basically when the Tailwind CSS is uncompressed, it is about 2 megabytes, and it's a lot. When it's zip is still like 180 kilobytes. But they introduce one option, they call it perk. Perk is like remove whatever is not really used when you write code, and that is the result when I enable the perk. So if you wanted to enable perk, is quite simple. You just go to tailwind.config.js and you do enable perk, and that's it. And you just specify which one you wanted to like go through the perks process, and that is the result, which is quite impressive. So you see, before the perk option enable, the file, the vendor for Angular application is like 1.2 megabyte, which is a lot. It is even bigger than the JavaScript. And when I enable the perk, it is just 2 kilobytes. And yeah, you can use Tailwind with confidence when perk is enabled, and don't have to worry about the file size. And yeah, I think that is pretty much about Tailwind in overall. And now we will talk about like how I use Tailwind CSS and do the Jira layout. So we go back to Jira one more time. So you will look at the application. There's a three like big part on the screen. The first one is that the blue left navigation bar. The second one is the sidebar. This one, it is like collapsible. And the third part is the content. And you might think that the left one is always have the fixed width. Probably you can define it for like a few dozen pixels. The navigation, like the size bar as well, you can set a predefined width for that. And the content is actually the left over on the screen. And if we go back to the slide, so you see there's a prototype, not prototype, it's like mock-up. So there's a navigation, the sidebar, and the content. And in Tailwind, they have this tailwind.config.js, so you can do a bit of customization. Like for example, I define the navigation navbar left, which is 64 pixels, and the sidebar is like 230 pixels. And I'll just use it on my code. Because when you define this on the spacing, you can start to use the Tailwind like classes for that. I will show you now. Yeah, just a second. So if you go back to the so we go back to this Jira clone, and let's inspect the source code one more time. Yeah, so now it's bigger. So this is the navbar left content, and it is have the width of 64. So this 64 pixel, I don't hard coded it on the CSS. I'll do a Tailwind syntax, like the apply syntax for that. So let me go back to the source code of the Angular. Yeah, I think it's the one. So if you let's make it bigger, if it's bigger, yeah, nice. So let me call up the left side. So that is a navbar left component that I have, and for the navbar left content, I do apply, and there's a special syntax like w dash and the name that you define on the Tailwind config.js, and it just magically it take the width 64 and then it put in the width of the class itself, and I found it very handy. It is working like when you work with SCSS, you can define a variable, but since you are using Tailwind, you can utilize Tailwind for that. So you can, it is really your decision. You can either use Tailwind or you can use SCSS, so it's really up to you. But for this project, I start to use Tailwind apply, and you see that navbar left content. Look at it one more time. It is like apply own kind of stuff, like high screen, which is the full height, and there's a width of navigation bar left, and some kind of padding, and also display flag. And when you see on the render, like on the compile the source code on the CSS, you can see all of that, like display flag direction column, and of course the height and the width, which is very handy, and I really like it. So yeah, I think Tailwind is good. I personally like it, and in the project, obviously you need to have a core style somewhere, and then when you need to use something, you can consider to use Tailwind for all of these entities classes. So I think that's it for Tailwind. If you have any questions, just note it down, and we can discuss at the end. So the next one is the topic about state management. So when I worked with Angular 4 years ago, there's no state management library exists at that time, and the first one is coming is NGRX. And I heard about the Redux concept, and I saw people start to really like introducing the way to implement Redux in Angular, but there's no like library for that, so you can just install it and you can add it into your project easier. And for like my personal point of view, I like the concept of Redux. Like I like the concept of state management in overall. It's really like allow you to like manipulate the data in one component, and when the other component need it, you just build on the object reference, which is not good. And it will lead to all kind of error in the future when you change the component data without realizing that you are actually changing it, and you use it somewhere. But it is not an easy concept to like get started with. I got a lot of confusion at the beginning. So yeah, we can talk about it later. So let's start with state. Basically, everybody like everyone have a different definition for state, and I hope you maybe have a different idea. So basically, for me, it could be a data application, whatever it is. It could be everything. Like when you click navigation to like this one, like you have this flag to tell either the sidebar is collapsed or not. You could store it inside the state, or you just store it like locally inside the component. So it is really whatever data is on the screen, so that it can help you to render it on the UI. Or you can think of the state is like a store, like a proper Redux or Flux store. And my definition is like the state is the behavior of the application at the given moment, at a certain time. Like let's say you have an object, like big object, stored data somewhere, and when you need it, you need to understand the behavior of the application. You just refer to this object, and you know exactly how it's gonna behave on the UI. So you don't store a fragmented just like a piece of data here and there on the UI, like on the DOM component. We used to do it in jQuery style, like you click and then you store it somewhere, like data collab equal true on the DOM element, and when you refresh, it's just gone. Basically, the state is like everything on the screen, and when you need to understand the flow of the application on how it is rendering in the UI, you need to refer to that big like data structure, or usually it's just a big object somewhere in the application. And when you should use it, I mean, like you could consider to use a simple service for the state. Like basically, you need a big object and you store it on the service, and every time you need to access the data from a different component, you just inject the service into your component, and then that's it. That's it for you. Because Angular have this service, which is awesome. I don't know if React have it, but I don't think they have it. So we can utilize the service. But when I got a lot of a problem with state, because when you need to store a big object and you need to change it, it is just you need to write more code, and you can start to think about how you can just write less boilerplate code and still make it working. And that's when you think of state management. So this is the Jira clone, like I have it, and usually it's just a hierarchy, like a tree of component that is nested. Like there's a parent, there's another parent, and there's another parent, and at the end you got to the child component, but it's like buried deep inside the component tree. And when you need to access the same piece of data from the deepest component, and it is going to be tricky, obviously, if you have just the data on the component. So that is when you can think of the state. I know you think of the service, but when the data is getting bigger and bigger, you should think of a state management behind the scene to do it for you. So it is the way when you just do input and output. So you like from the, I think it means too small. Maybe let me try to open this bigger. This one. So when you have a 5-level nested component, you can also, obviously, you can do input and output from the project component. You pass some kind of data to navigation, and you keep passing down into the like the ball D&D list, which is one column of that one. Like this one is the ball D&D list. Wow, why is it? Oh, it's a board D&D list. So it is inside the board. D&D is inside some kind of ball, and it is like nested inside the app component. So you still can do input and output. Simple input and output for that. and it still works, but it just need to traverse like multiple, like just keep emitting the event and keep sending down the data into the deeper level. And I found that it's not very intuitive. So we can think of the state is like the centralized data where you can inject from different components, and then you can access to the same piece of data. And that is when you should use the state management. Like I'm using it on the Jira cloud. Like I'm using it here. So if you open Reader, you can. Okay. Oh, okay. I'll show you later. So basically, it's like what I'm using in my application. Yeah. So it is just provide a tool to create some kind of data structure and a way to update the data and provide a development tool. So we talk about NGRX. So it is the first one. It is very handy, but I found it just like making the application is getting complicated over time, and I don't know. I just don't really like this big paragraph with a lot of concept that I need to understand, because my team is basically not everyone is senior at the same level. There's some fresher just graduated from university, and for them it is just difficult to get it. So basically I don't use NGRX because there's too much boilerplate when I need to write an NGRX. So let me show you in my current code. So let's say I have this I set up the NGRX store. Like I need to create a set of action, and I need to define a type for that. So it can be like union, like discrimination union for reducer later on. And for each for each kind of store, you need to create a corresponding reducer. I think it's inside. Where's it? Reducer here. So it is just basically just a switch case, like a big switch case function, and I don't really like switch case a lot in my application. And then you need to add this reducer into the forward of the application, and then when you need to use it, you need just to dispatch the action. And it's not finished. It's still more boilerplate to write. Like when you need to fetch the data, for example, you need to define a load action, and then you need to define a load succeed action, and you need to define a load failure. I think I have it somewhere. Maybe I just keep it. Sorry. But yeah, if you follow the best practice, you need to define a set of set of action, and then it's just repeat. Like if you need to have a load user, you need to define load user succeed and load user failure. And you need to have another type result, like you wanted to load maybe I don't know, maybe a car, a list of car. You need to again define a load car action, and then load car succeed and load car failure. So it is just keep repeat, and I don't like it. And they also introducing the concept of effect, which means that you don't really like get access to the API from the component itself. So you just dispatch the action, and then somewhere in the application there's an effect that listens to the action. For example, this effect will listen to the action load, and then it will do some kind of actual API code to the server, and then from there it will update the succeed, and if there's a failure, you just dispatch the load failure. And it is handy, like it is fine when you just care about this succeed state. So you just listen to the data chain somewhere. But when it is failure, it is just get tricky. You need to listen to like you just need to catch the data and the error. So which one is comfort, and then you take the error and then you handle it, which I found not really intuitive, and it's not the way when I write code I would do it. And that's why I mentioned before, it is too many concepts to write for like a junior engineer, because with Angular there's too much concept like IHJS, and observable and subject and all kind of stuff. And now they need to one more time learn about action and dispatcher and reducer. I think that's too much. So that's why I'm using Akita. So Akita is like streamline the process. They still need you to write some kind of code to make it working, but it is, I feel it's lesser than NGI. And yeah, just there's a simplicity in mind when the guy building Akita, and it's still relying on RxJS, which is very handy if you work with Angular like long enough. Okay. So I think I will show the code of Akita. So it is how I do it in the current application in the Jira clone. And let me open the one that I'm sharing, like opening on the screen. So you go to project. So inside project, there's a state. And first of all, when you need to use the store, you need to define a project state, which basically it's just an plain object. And when you define the store, it is just you need to create the initial state, and from there you can define your service. And the service is like you can inject all kind of stuff. You can inject your HTTP, and then when you call this guest project, it actually go to the API, and then after it's finished, and you can have the store, you can inject the store inside the service itself, and then after the request is finished, you can update the store immediately. So it really like the way you talk. You will tell your engineer to guys, I need this project to get the data, and then after that you update the store immediately, and then I have the data and I can listen to it. It is not like you telling like NGIs where it's like I dispatch an action, and then somewhere someone will just handle this action, and then this guy he will actually do the API, and then he will handle it for me, and I will listen to the data somewhere. I don't know. I just don't feel it is the way when I like the logic is just flow through my mind, and yeah, I that's why I prefer to use Akita. And beside the service, of course, you need to have the project query, and it's make things easier for you. You can extend from a class, and you pass in the state that you define on the store, that one, and then from there you can select, and each of this select, like for example, you select all, you select without any argument, and then it will just return an observable a project state, so you can access everything. But at some point of time, if you want to have access to a snapshot of data, because not every single operation is asynchronous. You wanted to click, and then you wanted to just get the data from the store and then comparing it somehow. You can do this dot store, and then you do get raw. I think you get value. Yeah. So when you do it, the raw here is actually an object of project state, and I mean it's really helpful. I need it like all the time. I need to access the current snapshot of the data all the time. And for me, I think I found when I use NGA 2 years ago to do it, it's just massive. It's difficult. I mean now they make a lot of like process, like a lot of update in the NGA itself, but I still feel like it is it's still a demon when I need to work with NGA. So yeah, it is about Akita. So basically, Akita is just a simple state management, and they simplify a lot of steps for you when you work with Redux. And yeah, I mean, I personally like Akita, but we can have a discussion after the talk. Maybe you might have a better idea about that. And that's all about the state management part. And the last part is just about to deploy the app. So after you finish the application, you need to deploy it, and you need to access it from the internet somehow. Like when I type jira.truecreative.com, it will open the application for you. And if you don't really have any idea about how you can do it, that's why I'm using the Netlify. So Netlify is like the static hosted file where you think about when you have the Angular application, and when you run the ng build, at the end of the day, it will have the folder, and you can serve it from anywhere else. And Netlify is just basically you can just plug your repository with it. Yeah, like I said, this morning I have some problem with the machine, so sorry, it's like unexpected. GitHub. Wow. Oh, okay. You need to do login instead of. Eh? Why is wrong? Login to connect your GitHub account. Ah. Oh, okay, sorry. Eh? Wow, how's it gonna work? That is so strange. Maybe GitLab then. Sorry guys, this morning I messed up with something in the computer and now it just broke. So give me a moment, yeah, sorry, just bear with me a bit. Wow, what is that? So many layers. Netlify, where's Netlify? Wow. I am. Yeah, can. Sorry. Finally. So basically, that is the one I configure for jira.trung18.com. So you go to like basically to use Netlify is very simple. You just do new site from Git. So either you can connect to GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket. So if you select the GitHub, it will allow you to like select your repository. And I have this Jira clone somewhere. I mean, I have already selected it, so maybe it's not appear from it. But anyway, yeah, you can select it, and after that, it will ask you some kind of question. So let me go back to my already configured. So you go back to site setting. I'll just need to do one thing. It's just to specify the build command and then give the Netlify which folder is the public, and it will just every time you push the commit to master, it will go to production deploy. You push the commits from different branches, it will go to deploy preview to make sure that your build is like went through. It's went through. It's not like broke. Yeah, it is still working as expected. And I found it's very easy to set up and yeah, like static web like hosted. And to configure a domain is also quite simple. Usually you just need to specify your custom domain, and then you just need to do a bit of DNS configuration. So you wanted to learn more about that, just let me know on Twitter, or like just reach me out and we can talk about it. But it's basically it's very simple. And also to talk about the hierarchy a bit. Yeah, sorry. I mean I need to log in again. Just do it. Give me another 10 seconds. Okay. So hierarchy is different from Netlify. It's like when you deploy the API to hierarchy, you wanted to the API is like to be accessible all of the time. It is hierarchy is like at the moment I don't have a database like behind the back, so that I need to query from database each time there's request. Now it's just serving a simple API. So if I go to this one, the Jira clone API, it will take some time for Heroku to wake up the server because it's going to sleep. After a while, there's no request. So it is just the simple APIs. If I go to maybe project, I will have, I can get this data in JSON, I don't know how to spell it, JSON structure, and then yeah, you can access it from the any client-side application that you have. And yeah, that is about Heroku. So Heroku is more. So what is different between Heroku and Netlify is, you should remember Netlify is just a static file hosted like website. You need to build like output some kind of HTML and JavaScript, and then you deploy to Netlify. For Heroku, it's like you wanted to have an API, some kind of the web server to run all the time, and that's when you need Heroku. And yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. I think that's it for the talk. And Rachel, Milan, how I don't know how to spell it. Yeah. Rachel, thank everyone for joining on this session, and I hope you guys like it. You have any question? Now is the time for us to really talk about some question that you have, or we can just discuss about anything.
Cool, really cool. Thank you, Trung. So I think we have received a lot of questions. So I'm going also to add to our panel Lorenzo Franceschini is our friend.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Okay. So, Hermano, you want to start?
Yes, I do have a question. So first of all, I thank you for your talk, and I've seen too many things that you went through are the same pain that all of us, I think, had. And so I'm a huge fan of Tailwind, me too. So I really like that you spend a little time talking about it, because I think it needs to be spread. And so thank you for that. And I really would like to ask you a question about, your experience with the Material CDK, because I've also integrated, the drag and drop or the other features you can have for the CDK. And I would like to ask you a question about how you felt actually integrating, if you think it's something that a junior can do or not. Because in my opinion, the documentation is pretty good, but actually I think it's very, very detailed, and so this can be a barrier for junior, front-end developers that are actually using, and so this is limiting the application. But of course, you did a great application using it, and so I think it's a great component. So what's your opinion on that?
Thanks for the question. I think CDKs, I didn't really use a lot of feature from Angular CDK. So the first one is obviously is the drag and drop. The second one is, I think, let me just show you. So the first one is like, most of the time I use drag and drop, because also in my company, I need to use it a lot, like many times. The second one is the accessibility. And it is like to help you to improve the accessibility for people. Like you wanted to have a sequence of focus on the screen. And it is when the accessibility come in. Another one is, I would say, the text field. I use text field for this one, just the directive to make the text area like auto size. Like when you type something in, it will just expand automatically like that. Like when you type this one, usually when you just have your normal text area, it will just stay there until you select the small icon on the right. And that is one of the things that I'm using. So I will say, to conclude, the CDK is helpful, and it is not really a barrier for junior because it really depends on what you need to use. You might not need to use CDK all of the time. So you should, if you need to use CDK and you found it, like there's a package on CDK, you can just import it into your application, and maybe the junior engineer might have like 1 or 2 days spend time on that, and they will get it because the documentation is really good. So yeah, I think it's not really a concern for me about CDK.
Okay, so thank you for your answer. And of course, I mean, you actually integrated that with the ng0, so you actually mixed few things in that. So
yeah.
If you haven't had any pain into that, that means they're really good.
Yeah. So the component that I'm using is from ng0. They just build all kind of selects and I know drop down and like draw. Like this one is from Joro. It's like draw. This select one is also from Joro, I think. You can select and you can, usually when you need to do it like custom Angular, like a component, it could take some time. I would say it's not a lot of time, but still you have to put some effort on that. And yeah, I just decided to use ng0 for most of the stuff and even for some of the icon and for this model. And yeah, I don't feel like I like this material component a lot. I like the CDK, but I don't really like material look. It's just maybe my personal taste. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't really like it. This own kind of animation and stuff. And I decided to mix CDK and ng0 because if I don't use material, I don't import material in my application, and I just import CDK, which means it is fine at the end. Yeah.
Yes. It's too much Google, Angular material for me, in my opinion. It looks too much Google. No, I have some questions for Trung.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is thank you for your talk, Trung, no, and compress all this information in just 1 hour. No, thank you. And you choose ng0.
Yeah.
Why you choose ng0 and not, for example, Nebular, no, and other UI library for Angular?
Oh,
so what
okay.
was the main reason for ng0?
First is like I like this look of ng0, like ng0. I like its look. It's like subtle. It is not like Bootstrap, which is like every like 50% the website is using. So it's a bit different from Bootstrap and still have some kind of cool animation between, and the documentation is also very clear. And I just went through some of the common component like table and drop down and select, and I found it enough for me to use. Okay. So that is one of the main reasons. The second reason is like I saw ng0 in React, and my friend also told me that they use ng0 in their like React application. And yeah, I thought why not? I just try ng0 for first time, and just at the same time I have the idea to build a Jira clone, and yeah, I just mix them together.
Okay, thank you. And the second was about the state management. No, you choose Akita. That I am super agree with you. You know, NGRX it's good, but it's not good for every project. No, and for most of the project, I think that Akita it's the most easy and best way, no, for start a project. But also GraphQL. Did you evaluate GraphQL for both state management data and UI or no?
You mean GraphQL?
GraphQL, yes.
GraphQL.
With Apollo, sorry. Apollo Angular.
Yeah, I mean, I am building this a proper API with GraphQL. Actually, I can show you. Can I have it running? Maybe. A sec. Maybe. No. 2 weeks. Wow. So I just have I just started with Apollo, and actually Apollo has their own cache like system. So I I'm not sure how to really like mix them together at the moment. I would say so. I start to have Apollo and also Akita, and it's just running like mixing together. But I'm not sure it's what I'm doing is a bad practice. So yeah, I think I don't like, I'm not really qualified for that. So I just show you quickly what I have done for these for this GraphQL thing, so you can understand. So basically, my friend and I we started to build this GraphQL with Net.js, and of course on front end side we're still using Apollo for querying data, and also using like GraphQL code gen to generate the query. So it is look like that. So it is the GraphQL query, and when you use Apollo, you need to like put the query into the service itself. So when we use GraphQL code gen, it will just based on this GraphQL file, and then it will generate your service, which is very handy. Like let me try to update this sheet. Is it this file? Then sorry, I'll get the register GQL. Let's do login GQL. Yeah. So I have, when I run through the query, they just generate for me the login GQL, and from there I'll just like inject into the proper service, and I just pass in the variable, and then you can have it. So it is running out. Hopefully it's still working. Wow, doesn't look really. So it is it's upcoming. I hope I can show it soon. But yeah, doesn't look like it's working. No,
Okay.
not. Yeah, but basically, it's just
but just for
layer. Yeah.
Yes, it's another way. No, but it's just for know if you try and you choose Akita for the reason that you said. No, so yes, it's okay.
Yeah. So I still using Akita and Apollo, but like I mentioned, there's still Apollo. It has their own caching, there's their own caching module. So I need to explore it really like more on that.
Okay.
But
thank you.
But it's should be something that you consider in your next application.
Yes.
Cool. I want to say thank you also to Hans. He did the same question about the Angular material. He asked, do you look into Angular material to create this application?
Do I look at Angular material to create this application? You mean like, have you ever thought of using Angular material for the Jira code?
Yes, as a UI kit, as
actually,
UI framework.
It's my work, because whatever is like provided by material is also, you can use it to build the same application. But I would say ng-draw is fit more, because it just coincidentally the style of ng-draw and the actual running Jira application is just very like similar. So if you use material, you might need to do a bit of customization. So that it can work, but at the end, I thought, just the same at the end, it doesn't really matter which UI library you are using. It is just they need to provide you enough component that you can use it in the application, so that you don't have to write a lot of customization code for it. So I think ng-draw give me like better job rather than our material. But yeah, you can. Yeah, obviously you can use material. No problem on that.
Okay, thank you. And always ask to you, why not deploy on Firebase?
Oh, Firebase. I think Firebase is more like I I know, because I mean at the moment we don't really need to use Firebase, because like I said, the first published version is just the static web application, and the second one, because we wanted to explore a bit about GraphQL, so that we decided to go with Next.js and GraphQL. For Firebase, it's really like, okay, it is handy. You don't need to really set up anything. You just connect to your Firebase application, and you can start to pushing data into Firebase, and you also can get the ability to get the real-time update from Firebase as well, which is really handy. But I would say it just I don't have the need to use Firebase at the moment. But you should consider using Firebase for your project. And Firebase, because you don't need to really like set up your infrastructure and everything, and it's like query based, so it could be something you should consider if you use it in your actual like production ready application, because maybe one day your app is getting popular and just suddenly the cost increasing a lot because the query just keep pushing, and then Google just keep charging based on the number of query. It is not like because you set up the VM, which is not enough, and then the app die. For Firebase, you still can just keep like keep the app running, but you might get to a subscribe cost at the end. So I don't know, it could be a basket or worse. It's just my opinion on that. I don't have a lot of experience with Firebase, so always answer your question.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And I don't know, Lorenzo, do you want to add something?
No, the project is very cool. I'd like to ask you, Trung, when did you start this project? How many people works on it? If you start alone, like an hobby project?
I didn't really get it. Like
you start alone this project and then grow up with other members, because it's a very complex project.
I started the project by myself, and like okay, just disclaimer, I'm not invented it. I saw the same project which is written in React.js, and I wanted to do something similar to Angular. So I'll just based on the React application, and then I start to write my code in Angular. So you go to the repository, you will see that there is the reference table. Where is it? No. Credit. Yeah. So there's inspired by the same thing written in React.js. And I just start the project alone by myself, and then I start to add the code so that the two make like it look like identical, but at the end it doesn't really like identical like that.
Okay. I like the choice of Akita as a state manager, and I remember when Nicola did a talk on Akita with us. So Akita is based on top of Ares.js, if I understand. I never used it.
It is still built like on top of Ares.js. So everything when you select, it is still like just an observable stream, where you can listen to the stream, and every time you update the store, it will send you the update, like where you listening to the data. And yeah, it is just like basically observable Ares.js in overall.
Okay, thank you, and for the talk and sharing your experience with this project, because it's very complex project from start to finish. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hermano, do you have the last one?
No, I mean, I just want to, just for the sake of completeness, you can set up a budget on Firebase. So you won't be afraid of having huge costs. So
Okay,
keep in mind that.
So you can do it. I thought
And you can also just use the hosting part. So there will be, I mean, it can be simpler sometimes. But I have a question. It's a really small one. I've seen you use the very good ghost and skeleton components. So when you're loading, you show a preload with a skeleton. Is something that you have created yourself? You use the library, or it's just your CSS?
Let me think. This skeleton for the module. I forgot. It's been a long time. I issue model. So there's an issue model and then detail. Okay, I think it's inside detail. So
Yeah,
now,
well, you open the model and then it's loading.
So there's a issue loader. I think is the one. So basically, it just I used one library from the same group that build Akita. They have this content loader library, and then you just put in some kind of advg, and then it just suddenly work for you. So it's simple. So when you do issue loader on the screen, it will just do all of this spinning. So I think it just let me open it for you.
Yeah, it's a very nice animation. So
yeah. So I think it's called content loader. No, NG, because it's from the same group. Is it called NG need? Oh, gosh. Content loader. Yeah. Why so weird? So yeah, basically you can use this library. So you can push in some kind of advg inside the content loader, and then it will do this nice animation for you.
okay, thank you.
Pretty cool. Yeah, like that. So you just put in some advg and that's it. You don't have to worry about the rest.
Yes, and also if I can just add a little things about Akita, that it's integrate with Firebase. So they have released this feature that it's natively integrated with Firebase. So it's more easy, to deploy the project and all the stuff in Firebase with Akita.
I saw.
So sorry.
Maybe I consider to use Firebase, but maybe it's for phase 3 then. I'm still working on phase 2.
Okay, so we should move on with the raffle. What do you think?
We have some JetBrains license for some JetBrains products to give away. So Enzo, come with us and let's go with the raffle.
Oh, I know.
You are mute, Enzo.
Eccomi. There is. Please, with your camera, check the QR code and make your selfie.
So we can go also in Italian. Puntate il QR code e vi si aprirà un'applicazione, potete fare un selfie e se lo postate iniziamo con il nostro raffle.
Ricorda cosa si vince, Luciano?
Si possono vincere 2 licenze JetBrains.
Non fate i timidi, ragazzi, dai. Io e Lorenzo ci siamo già lanciati.
Sì, io ho messo la foto sotto sopra, non me ne ero accorto.
In realtà è un bug perché vedi, pure io sono storto.
Sì. Tutti storti.
L'unico che è venuto dritto è stato un nostro fedelissimo sviluppatore che segue tutti i meetup, Alessio.
Perché si è fotografato storto,
infatti.
sapendo che c'era il bug. Bisogna avvisare Luca Congiu.
Sì, Selfilotteri che ci ha messo a disposizione la community.net code H Luca. Allora, la storia dietro Selfilotteri, cioè, glielo feci sviluppare, lui l'aveva già fatta, però poi in questa versione gliela feci sviluppare io per una questa conferenza che dovevamo fare, ok? Quindi rimanevano ancora alcuni bug, però il giorno, il giorno prima di questa conferenza io che continuavo a dirgli a Luca dobbiamo correggere sta cosa, lui era così esausto che disse no, fine, la facciamo, e quindi allora non ci ha più lavorato, per 2 anni non ci ha più lavorato. Gli avevo talmente, come si dice, l'avevo talmente stressato che poi ne ho avuto per 2 anni.
Ecco, sono anche io stop.
Sì, ditemi poi, vabbè, stiamo a qualche altro secondo, poi quando volete interrompiamo e premo il bottone. Trung, if you want to win a license.
Yeah,
For the Jira clone.
Okay. Just a sec. Let me do it.
I mean, the license will work with the
okay.
any JetMapper product. So
Okay. Wow. Send.
Ecco, nel frattempo vedi, qualcuno si aggiunge, quindi ecco, bravo, ammazza, dai, forza, su, coraggio.
Okay.
Non siate timidi.
Allora, ditemi quando posso andare. Ecco, vedi.
Fantastico.
Okay.
Vado, Luciano, vado, ragazzi.
vai.
Sì, dai, possiamo andare.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The first winner is Luca.
Luca Napolitano. It's my colleague.
Ok, quindi sai come contattarlo poi, giusto?
Yes.
Perfetto. And the second winner is Nicola.
Nicola Salento.
Come funziona se lo staff? La vuoi o la rimettiamo in gioco?
No, in gioco.
Rimettiamo in gioco.
Vai.
Sì.
3, 2, 1 and the winner is Lorenzo.
No, rimettila in gioco. In gioco.
In gioco, vai.
Sì.
Vabbè, Enzo in gioco.
Ok.
Luciano se la tiene. invece.
Ecco.
Esatto, Alessio.
Vai Alessio.
E adesso poi ci abbiamo un'email, quindi lo possiamo contattare. Perfetto.
Perfetto.
Grazie JetBrains, grazie Angular Roma.
Ricordatevi di una volta ricevuta la licenza di fare il redeem, altrimenti poi scade, quindi fatelo il prima possibile una volta che ricevete il codice.
Esatto. Perfetto.
Ok.
Grazie a tutti. Thank you,
Grazie.
Trung.
Thank you, Trung.
I really appreciate
Thank you,
your
Thanks guys for
Thank
having me. I really appreciate your invitation, and yeah, I'm glad to be here today.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah,
The-
I wish I
our-
could make it next time for winning this JetBrains.
No,
Ready
Trung,
for
if you want mine. Trung, if you want mine. No.
That's fine. I'm using this code anyway, so.
Yes.
Ready for the last screenshot of the event?
Vai.
3,
Yes.
2, 1. Bye.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Perfect.
Goodbye.
Bye to all.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao ciao.